Good evening, everyone. It's Mackenzie back to discuss Chapter 10 from Principles of Convergent Journalism. This chapter talks about online news. So since the creation of the internet, TV journalists have been utilizing the web. So it's now easier to post not only stories, but pictures, video, and audio as well. So some of the new types of interactive content on the web include hyperlinks, which allow viewers to click on a separate link that takes them to more related information about the article. True multimedia, which is combining video, audio, text, and graphics into kind of like a mashup. Geolocative, which uses global positioning to detect where users are around the world. Recommendational tailors content based on what users click on the most. Data visualization takes a lot of information and then it condenses it to make it easier to understand. And then archives, which allow you to go back and look at older content, such as like old news, paper articles, and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk about some of the new elements, some of these new elements that I just talked about more in depth. One skill that journalists must have is to recognize when multimedia is available and when to use it. So before you even begin writing your story, a journalist must decide what and how the elements are going to be arranged in that story. So writing a story in more of a linear style kind of forces the reader to take in the content in the order that you presented it. So for online news, audiences want to be able to scan a story quickly, and doing this like adding bullet points or lists and kind of just chunking the information up better helps the audience read it better. So hyperlinking offers a new way to write a story. They allow you to jump from one web page to the next, which increases user engagement. So one of the basics for hyperlinking is that each element in a story should have a path to get from one to the other. One thing to consider when using hyperlinking is that you could possibly take the attention away from your story and onto another article or someone else's story. So adding true multimedia to any of your stories, you must consider what would be the most effective form. So for example, if you're writing a breaking news story, video or audio or pictures would be best to tell that story. Although sometimes the audience does prefer to just scan an article quickly instead of watch an entire video about it. Journalists must also think about the time, the length, and what kind of media will be used when they're using multimedia in their stories. So before the internet, people had to go to the library and do an extensive search for old newspaper articles, but now archives make it much easier to find old stories and information. So aside from text, photos and videos can also be found in archives, and they're important because they represent a new outlet for your work. All of your work will be saved somewhere for future reference, and you can update your work easier if you make a mistake. So I hope all this information about online news was helpful to you. This is vlog number 7, Mackenzie Hamby for Converge News Production.